The wind blows hard in December, and being a Xenoblade fan is the wildest ride, isn't it? If you haven't seen it yet somehow, I am happy to inform you that Xenoblade X has just received its Switch 2 edition, at least digitally. It's going to receive its physical Switch 2 edition in April, which is 11 years after its initial launch on the Wii U. So that is really cool for various reasons, but you don't need me to tell you that. You don't need me to tell you that if you haven't played Xenoblade X yet, it is time, baby. This is the best time. There has been no better time to play Xenoblade X than right now. This is a historic moment for the franchise to get any game at this quality, at that frame rate, officially, no piracy. It's gonna be awesome, so do it. However, what we're actually here to talk about today is the knee-jerk reaction to this announcement. And in order to do so, I just want to pat myself on the back for a moment, okay? Bear with me. I deserve this, okay? Because I have made several videos about the potential Switch 2 editions, and a lot of what I've been saying, especially a lot of like things to sort of calm everybody down, like it's not that big of a deal, a lot of that has been so validated with this announcement. I remember when those Nintendo Directs were coming out last year, and we were all panicking, oh my god, where's the Switch 2 editions? And I said, you know what? It doesn't really matter because they can just drop them whenever they want. I literally use Xenoblade X as an example. They dropped all those announcements and updates and trailers for Xenoblade X Definitive Edition just haphazardly. Like, who cares? Just throw them out. We don't need a Direct. And they just did it again! They just did it again for Xenoblade X. So we don't really need some sort of deadline. Doesn't have to be a Direct. Doesn't have to be this day or... No, they just do it whenever they want. Whenever Nintendo is ready to talk about it on their own terms, that's when they're gonna do it. I said, my last video, Nintendo is random as fuck. The wind may blow hard in December, but Nintendo does not go where the wind blows. They march by the beat of their own drum. And most of all, I need to brag. I need to laugh about how I made that joke. Kind of a joke. I am not dying on the hill that it will be precisely called Xenoblade 2 Definitive Edition. For all we know, it'll be Xenoblade 2 Definitive Edition Switch 2 Edition. And guess what happens? Xenoblade X Definitive Edition Switch 2 Edition on store shelves. You really... You really can't joke about Nintendo. You really can't be serious about Nintendo either because they just do whatever they want. And that finally leads me into the reaction to this announcement. Most people are excited, of course, but there is some backlash. There is some sort of concern and just wariness with the Switch 2 editions because even though this is just, you know, with the graphics and the performance, there's no new content added on here. Despite that, this is a paid upgrade. This is a $5 paid upgrade, and people are just discontent with that. People are just kind of fed up with these Switch 2 editions being very arbitrary. Some of them are paid, but then some of the free ones do more than the paid ones, and then some of the paid ones aren't even really like traditional updates. They're like DLC. So it doesn't really make sense. It feels just whatever Nintendo feels like they want to charge for, that's what they're doing. And let's just be honest, you might complain about it, you might say it should be free, but us Xenoblade fans, we're gonna pay. We're gonna pay up. If each Xenoblade game gets a $5 upgrade, you know we're paying all that. Let's not act like we're not going to. If you were to ask me, yeah, I do think it should be free. Especially since, you know, Xenoblade X, it makes sense that it's the one out of all the 4 games to be getting a Switch 2 edition or patch of any kind, because it's the one that just came out, right? It just was recently worked on, so it should be the one that takes less time in order to make a Switch 2 edition, because that was right before the Switch 2 came out. A lot of us thought that there'd be a Switch 2 update when the console launched. It turns out we were wrong by several months. In fact, we were wrong by a whole year. But still, it just makes so much sense as to why this is happening, and thus it kind of stings, right? It kind of stings. It seems so obvious that why should we pay some money for this? It feels obvious that this should just be a thing that exists, right? And just to be clear, by the way, just to reiterate, you should expect the other Switch 2 editions for Xenoblade to be paid, okay? Even Xenoblade 1, you should expect them to call that the same thing, Xenoblade 1 Definitive Edition Switch 2 Edition. It's gonna be fine. It sucks, but it's gonna be okay. Because I know a lot of y'all did not want Xenoblade 2 to get a paid upgrade just because you didn't want to pay anymore. Just prepare yourself for that, okay? Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever you gotta do, just prepare to drop a couple more dollars in the Xenoblade funds. Now that I think about it, I don't own any physical copy of Xenoblade X. Should I make this one the one for the memes? Anywho, I think the bigger point of discussion, in fact, I've personally seen more talk about this than the actual Switch 2 edition. I've seen just a rejuvenated spark about what the next release is going to be, or if this means we're not going to get any Xenoblade game this year. Because, you know, basically the thesis here is that, oh my god, they're having a new Xenoblade release on store shelves. That could either mean one of two things. That could mean, one, they want to be able to, like, remind people about Xenoblade in real life. They want to push that brand in order to prepare for the next Xenoblade game. But the other possibility is that, oh wait, this might be the Xenoblade game on store shelves, which means we're not going to get one this year. Sort of like how Animal Crossing got its Switch 2 edition physically. People make the argument of like, oh, well, I guess that means there's not going to be another Animal Crossing for years. I don't think it's like that severe for the Xenoblade franchise, but, you know, it's a valid argument. I could see the point they're trying to make. But either way, no matter which outcome that takes, the funniest thing about this is that this is once again being used as the reason why Xenoblade 2 Definitive Edition, Switch 2 Edition, blah blah, is not going to happen. I just find it so funny, because we just had a supposed leak that pointed us in certain directions, and then we have this, which is a lot more official, to say the least. Even though nobody expected this, nobody, literally nobody, was saying that Xenoblade X Definitive Edition would get a physical Switch 2 edition just by itself. Nobody was saying that after that supposed leak. So I just think it's funny that immediately, like not even like a whole 10 minutes after this announcement, there's just a lot of speculation about what's coming up next. Like we can't even celebrate this moment. We have to speculate about what does this mean for the future? What does this mean for the other Switch 2 editions? And I know it's ironic because I'm making this video. But first of all, to be fair, it's a few hours after the announcement. And second of all, everything I was talking about, it was building to this moment where I have to remind you again, we don't fucking know a thing. We don't know shit. This announcement should be proving to us that we don't know what's going to happen, because nobody thought this was going to happen. And I get it, you know, if you're online and you want to talk about Xenoblade, it's not enough to just say Xenoblade X looks cooler now, because I mean that's great, but there's not much else to say. But still, it just feels like we're kind of all in purgatory right now, waiting for Monolith Soft's next announcement, or at least what people believe is going to be like a whole new game, whether it's Xenoblade or a new IP. That's the thing too, it's like, oh, it's going to be a new IP this year. Surely that's what that means, because now they already got their Xenoblade announcement out. It's going to be a new IP, and again, like, I can see the logic behind some of these arguments, but at the end of the day, it just feels kind of like a waste of time. Right? Like, I just wanted to make this video to convey to you that what you should be happy about right now, what you should be just over the moon about, is that Xenoblade is finally at 4K 60 frames per second. At least one of the games is finally here. And hopefully that means the others are on their way. I think that, yeah, we are going to get them by the end of the year, which is a low bar by the end of the year, but, you know, I gotta give Nintendo some time, you know. But personally, I really don't think this means anything about what Monolith Soft's next announcement is going to be. Like, just really sit there and think to yourself, if they announced Xenoblade 4 next, like that was their next project, would you be surprised? No, I wouldn't be. If they announced a new IP, would you be surprised? No, I wouldn't be. If they announced another Switch 2 edition. Whether it be Xenoblade 2 or whatever. Would you be surprised? No, you shouldn't be. This announcement does not exclude any of those possibilities, nor does it nudge us in any particular direction. Like, if for some reason the other Xenoblade games didn't get a similar physical release, or for some reason it was free, like, I think that would be the most surprising outcome, that it would be free, but still, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, what does this mean about... No, it would just be like, okay, yeah, that's Nintendo's gonna Nintendo. And even if you think that that's a cop-out, like, if you think Nintendo being random, like, that's not even an argument, because, like, then literally anything could happen. And, like, okay, well, yeah, that's true. But also, let's just go the flip side, right? Let's put it in reverse a little bit. Like, if you think that this deconfirms a Xenoblade 2 Definitive Edition, well, what was one of the arguments? Oh, they wouldn't re-release a game that's already backwards compatible. They wouldn't re-release a game that's already on store shelves. Well, guess what? They just did. They're doing that right now. April 16th, 2026. Another version of Xenoblade X is going to be on store shelves. A game that came out last year. It's not like Animal Crossing, which came out several years ago. No, a game that came out last year is having another physical release that you could totally argue is unnecessary. You could say that this physical release is not needed. Just like you could say that it didn't need to be paid. Just like you could say that we didn't need Xenoblade 2 Definitive Edition. Just like you could say we didn't need Xenoblade X Definitive Edition, Switch 2 Edition. Like, do you see my point here? Like, even if you want to take out the arguments of Nintendo's, like, spontaneousness, this announcement alone is just so unexpected and random that you really can't take it in either direction. You really can't use it as proof as one thing is going to happen over the other. And I know that's frustrating because we want to have an idea of what's coming. I know it's frustrating to have to wait until a Nintendo Direct that might not even happen, just like the latest one with the partner showcase. Or it's definitely frustrating to just have to wait for a random social media drop. But ultimately, you know, speculation aside, I just hope people are excited about Xenoblade. I hope that's the main takeaway. Like, even if you're not necessarily excited to jump back into Xenoblade X, or just jump into it at all, I just hope that seeing Nintendo talk about Xenoblade, even though it really hasn't been that long, like a whole year is like, you know, boo-hoo compared to other franchises, but still, like, for this to finally happen on the Switch 2, the new console, to see that Nintendo, for better or worse, believes in it enough to have its own physical release and its own paid upgrade and all that, to see that Nintendo still cares about Xenoblade, just to have the first news of Xenoblade on the Switch 2, I don't know, to me, no matter what you think about it being paid or what you think is coming up next, to me, that's just exciting. To me, it gives me life. To see life in this franchise, that gives me life. And I just hope that I'm not just being weird. I hope that there's more people out there that can relate to that. So yeah, if you couldn't tell, I was just kind of rambling there. I didn't really have much planned in terms of what I wanted to say. It's all just vibes. It's all just feelings, because that's what this franchise does. It makes me feel. And what I hope you feel is just jubilance, exuberant elation to jump into Xenoblade X, to see that game, that beautiful open world in its full maximum glory. So yeah, keep being good to others, and I'll see you whenever I decide to show up again. Have a good one, guys. Bye bye now.